Hello and welcome to Resilience for Practice Start. This video was made by GP Excellence in 2025-2026 and is available for you in general practice, for your managers to be able to show this and work through this with you on perhaps a PLT afternoon or a time when the whole team can get together. To let you know who I am, my name's Luann Stewart and I've been a practice manager over several areas over the years. I'm also a teacher and trainer for Lancashire Training Hub, for Manchester GP Excellence and for the LMC in Lancashire and South Cumbria. I'm also a private consultant in estates and a locum practice manager at the moment, having taken some early retirement. So today we are going to talk about how to keep resilient in what is quite some challenging times within general practice. And within this particular training session, we are going to have some bits that you're going to have to spend a little bit of time doing a bit of a quiz to see how resilient we really are. We're also going to make sure that a comfort break is built in so that your managers or whoever is playing this for you can press pause and stop so everyone can take that comfort break at the same time, or go off and get yourself a drink or whatever you need to do to make sure that this is a comfortable and pleasant afternoon that you can spend all morning doing your training session. So today we're going to cover resilience in general, how to be more resilient within your life. This doesn't have to just be work. This could be within your private life as well. Finding ways to actually become more So what do we mean when we say resilient? Well, a resilient person is someone who is self-aware, who recognizes when pressure is causing a problem, has different coping strategies to get through things, looks positively on life, not negatively, more glass half full than glass half empty, has a confidence in their own abilities and grows and develops within their roles. And when things do go wrong and that fight or flight mode kicks in, they actually learn how to stay calm, to take deep breaths, to step away from stressful situations, to give themselves thinking time, to spend that time maybe talking to a colleague rather than worrying, and save angry emails to draft and think before you hit send, because sometimes the consequences are not worth it just to get something off your chest. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a quiz. And you've got to answer it really honestly as you can. Make sure you have a pen and paper available. All of the questions are going to be on the screen and we are going to work through them one at a time. If you don't have a pen and paper available, perhaps your manager can press pause on me while you go and fetch one. Good. Go back. So try to answer each question honestly and rate yourselves between 1 and 5 for each of the 10 questions. 1 means you strongly disagree with the sentence. 5 means you strongly agree with the sentence, or you might be somewhere in between. And what we're going to do at the end of this is look at your scores, and this is going to tell us how resilient you are. So try to do this on how you are feeling right now, today. Obviously, it's a different day for all of us because this is on a video. It may have been a really busy day already at the surgery. You may feel rushed off your feet. You may have been racing in to do this, even though you've got a lot of admin to do, and you might have your mind thinking about all of that stuff. So it's important that you answer on how you're feeling today. And why we do that is because you can repeat this quiz at future times when you've put into place some of the different things that we talk about today and see if you've actually become more resilient. So answer as honestly as you can. Question number 1. When I am in a difficult spot, I immediately start to put things right. So 1 if you strongly disagree, up to 5 if you strongly agree, or somewhere in between. Number 2, I influence what I can influence, and I don't worry about the things I can't influence. Again, mark yourself somewhere between 1 and 5. Number 3, always a difficult one, this one. I don't take criticism personally. Number 4, I keep things in perspective as a rule. Number 5, I am calm in a crisis. Number 6, I find solutions to problems easily. Number 7, I rarely feel anxious or stressed. Don't forget, mark yourself somewhere between 1 for strongly disagree and 5 for strongly agree. Number 8, large amount of emails are a challenge, not a concern to work through. Number 9, I like to take control of events. And finally, number 10, I trust my intuition completely. So you should now have 10 numbers written down. What we'd like you to do now is a little bit of maths. Add up the 10 numbers until you get one final number. I don't mind if you use a calculator, it's fine. We'll give you a minute and you can count up those 10 numbers. See what final answer you get, and this is going to be your resilience score. This is going to tell you whether you're a resilient person or whether you really need to work on that. Good. So anyone out there between 0 and 35? You are developing a level of resilience, but you would benefit significantly from developing different aspects of your behaviour to learn to be a bit more resilient. It will definitely make life easier for you. 36 to 40, an established level of resilience. You're going to have some tough days when things don't go your way, but you rarely feel ready to completely give up. You definitely need this resilience training though, just to keep going. 41 to 45, a very strong level of resilience, above average, good at rolling with the punches, turning setbacks into opportunities. You may learn 1 or 2 things here, but you're doing really well. 46 to 50, an exceptional level of resilience. You're very resilient most of the time. You generally bounce back and you believe in making your own luck. And perhaps you could be teaching this because you are really a very resilient person. But we can all learn a few tips to make ourselves even more resilient. So the general rule on feeling better, and some of them are really obvious, and we are going to go through each of them today. Clean your space. They do say a tidy mind, tidy area, tidy mind. Does clear the clutter out of your head. Eat healthily. Play great music, maybe not at work. Light a candle, again, not at work. Drink some water, sleep well, and breathe. These are all things that keep you a bit more resilient. Remember to take your breaks. This is probably not something that's too much of a problem with most of the team, but if there's any managers out there or some partners, you'll find that they don't always take their breaks. They work through them. Learn to share the load if you're in a position of any kind of leadership position, such as reception managers or nurse managers. Remember to delegate, delegate, delegate. You cannot do everything. You're not in charge of everything. Learn to have good sleep. Forget work at night. And do take all your holidays and your breaks. So sleep. What can we do to make our sleep better? They do say that women's minds run a lot more during the night than men's minds. Men have learned to relax and learn how to just get into bed and go to sleep a lot better than women. So there's things that we can do to make things a little better. No electronics, that blue light just before bed, very, very bad for your sleep. Try to give yourself a break before you go to bed. Don't be sat in bed with your iPad or your phone. Think about those lavender sprays. They do actually make a real difference. They can give a calming, nice smell that can really keep you falling asleep a little bit easier. Don't be thinking about work. And if you're in a role where you do have to prepare for the next day, or you may suddenly think of things that you need to do and they're going to play on your mind all night, find a way of releasing that from your mind. That can be that you email yourself so that you release it out of your mind because you'll see the email in the morning. Or some people keep a pad and a paper and a pen next to the bed, write things down, send yourself some kind of reminder, however that works for you, to take it out of your mind so that you can then rest and sleep. Because if you're spending all night worrying that you may forget something you need to do in the morning, that's not going to go away and you're not going to sleep well. Take fresh air when you can. It's a really good idea to go out for a lunchtime walk. We do know that not everybody's surgeries are in the middle of a beautiful leafy area like the one on the picture. We know that you may not work in a safe area. It may not be secure for you to go out for a walk. And we do understand that. But if you can get some fresh air, it will help you refocus. Do take a break at lunchtime, and please, if you can help it, don't go from your computer screen that you're working on straight onto your phone or social media. Try and have that screen time break just for a little bit of time. Communicate maybe with your team, have a chat, watch a bit of TV if that's available for you at a distance rather than close up on your phone. Just try to have that little bit of a break. But especially if you can get fresh air, you will definitely feel a lot better. Clear that clutter. Tidy desk, tidy mind. Do think about when you have shared desks. Sometimes it's a really horrible thing to come into work, maybe jumping on a desk at lunchtime, and there are coffee stains or dirty plates sat around your desk. Make sure it's clear for the next person, or that when you come in, you maybe need to spend a minute and clear it, because you will feel better if you're working in a tidier place. For those of you that are in a position where you can do this, make things digital, because less paper hanging around is less mess. And if you can, then clear the furniture too. If you've got lots of filing cabinets full of paper and you can scan that paper in or get rid of any rubbish, that will make you feel better because you'll feel less encroached on with less furniture around. Don't keep lots and lots of bits aside. And for any doctors or partners that are watching this, please don't bring in your old furniture into the workplace because maybe you've got a new couch at home or something like that. It's just cluttering and cluttering, which can make people feel they're really enclosed with stuff. So try and think about ways of clearing that clutter. It's also good for any nursing teams that are watching. Lots of things are kept just in case. You might have a half-broken ECG that's been replaced, but you kept the old one sitting on the side. Get rid of things like that. You're never going to use them, and all that stuff around you is actually playing on your mind to make you feel worse. And what I'd like to say, please just drink water, but I know you're not going to all do that. But do have a think about caffeine. Sometimes when we get to that 4 o'clock in the afternoon and we start to feel a little bit grumpier, patients annoy us a little bit more. Our head's spinning with everything that's going on. And the first thing we do is have more caffeine, which makes you more wired and feel worse. For those managers that can sort out a decaf version for your team, please do have a think about having decaf tea or decaf coffee available. There's also instant hot chocolate, which is actually no dearer than buying coffee. So have a little think about that too, as that special treat for those of your team that maybe don't really like coffee and tea, but would like a warming drink at some time before, during the winter, say, when they want to warm up, but without having that caffeine hit. This is one more for managers. I don't think there'll be too many staff that will do this, but do make sure you take your leave. Switch off your phone and rest. You will be a better manager for it. It's the same with your lunch breaks. If you don't take your lunch breaks, then you will find that you will be worse in the afternoon. You won't work as well because you will be tired. You do need to have that rest to move away from things. So make sure you take everything out, every bit of leave that you need to take. And for those of you in leadership roles that are new into the role, that could be a practice manager, a reception manager, an operations manager, a nurse manager. Things will get easier and they will get better. Take any training or any mentoring chances you get, because it's a lot easier to be resilient when you actually understand what's going on, because then you won't have to spend too much time thinking about it. And try not to worry too much. Do you remember when we talked right at the beginning, when we were doing that quiz? We said, do you worry about the things that you can't influence? Well, actually, this slide is a little bit about this. And I'm going to give you a few little examples on how we can think about this. I'm going to use reception as an example. There's what's in your control, what you can influence, and then the everything else. You mustn't worry, spend your time worrying about the everything else, because that's going to make you feel very, very stressed and you will get burnt out. So let's move back here we'll use care navigation as a good example. What's in your control, or maybe in your manager's control? Well, it could be in your control, but as far as care navigation, you understand how to open up templates, you understand where they're stored. Perhaps for your IT leads to have made a quick F12 key that you can press, or have a system where things just open up for you so that you're not struggling and spending time working on the IT. When you use those care navigation, it is in your control to have that template open and to be prepared and to understand it. You can influence by checking with your IT leads to make things easier for you. Can things get half pre-filled by your systems that you're using? Is there anything that they can do to make stuff a little bit easier? But the everything else is the bit that's, unfortunately, these things are here to stay. They've decided you're going to use care navigation. It's contractual unless you're using total triage. So therefore that falls into the everything else. So what that means is if you spend a lot of time complaining and being upset that you have to do something that perhaps is contractual, and therefore, unfortunately, your managers are going to tell you that you have to do this because otherwise the surgery won't get paid. You're spending a lot of time worrying about things that you can't change. So spend that time thinking about things that you can control, things that you can influence and make a change about, but stop worrying about the everything else. If you can't change it, take it out your mind. You're just going to have to deal with it. So it's easier to just get on with it and not worry about it. Things are getting harder, and this is why we're feeling less and less resilient. We have those Daily Mail headlines, as they are, with the public perception being that Doctors' receptionists are lazy, or GPs are not giving them the appointments they want. We have that extra stuff with care navigation, pharmacy referrals, more and more admin. Patients are getting ruder. They have that instant gratification feeling that they want. They want to ring up, they want to get exactly what they want when they want it, because they're used to ordering from Amazon and getting everything instantly. So therefore, they're expecting that from their GP surgery. We're having more and more rude or even violent patients for some areas, and that can be harder, and that can make your resilience level feel very low. More sickness in the team, all of these things means your resilience might start to fail. And if the team resilience starts to fail, your individual resilience will go down, because you will start to burn out if you're having to do more. So try to look after each other. Try to work as a team and help each other, because that will take the strain out of the day. Keep your area clear and tidy so that you feel a little bit better, clearing that clutter like we talked about earlier. Nobody can give excellent patient care if you don't look after you. And for any managers, please try to make sure your team understands why they're being asked to work differently. It won't reduce the work, but if they understand what's going on and why things are being given to them, then perhaps it will make them feel a little bit better that they've been included in any conversations about how to make things work better, and not just talked to from on high. Burnout's a really big thing at the moment, and you need to have lots of different types of rest to avoid burnout. These are some of the types of rest that we need to think about. Physical rest. It's making sure we get enough sleep. There are other ways that you can rest by doing things like yoga, have a massage, stretch, whatever works for you, but make sure your body is physically getting rested and recuperated. Sensory rest. Take those breaks from screens, social media, and constant emails. Make sure you're not always buried in a screen. Mental rest. Focus on your breathing and your body sensations throughout the day. Emotional rest. Don't always people please. Sometimes you need to please you. So think, sometimes it's not about everyone else. Spiritual rest. Whatever works for you, that could be meditating, it could be prayer, or it could be just connecting with nature, getting some air. Social rest. Spend time with people that make you feel good. And creative rest. It can be listening to music, painting, writing, going out for a walk, whatever you find creative for you to do. But make sure your life is that balance. It isn't all work. Sometimes it feels like it's all work. I particularly like this because it shows all the different pieces of work under the iceberg, as they say. The small amount of the iceberg is on the top, and this is the bit that the patients see. They see the appointments, they might see the remote GP, they might see talking to a receptionist, but this is all the stuff that they don't see that we have to do. All the different meetings and care home ward rounds and home visits, and all of our different admin that we have to work through, that the public don't see how hard we all work. Start thinking about how you can shed things. Many of you will know how to do this, but for those of you that don't, all those emails that you receive, you don't need to necessarily have those emails all the time. If there are emails that are coming in about locums, for instance, or different stationery companies, anything that you don't want to constantly be bombarded with, and this is your home emails as well, different companies that get your email address, either start unsubscribing or right-clicking and junking those emails so that you don't have so much constantly bombarding you and taking up your time. Shed the workload. But do think about organising your workload in whatever role you're in. Look at your time management. Are you avoiding challenging work? And this is in your home life as well, so that you don't forget things. They're there for you to do and to work through, but not to avoid. You will feel better and you will feel more resilient when you get through that workload. And for any managers, team leaders, reception leads, anyone in any kind of team lead role, do learn to trust the members of your team. Delegate, do not micromanage, and share the load, because that's all part of team building. Leadership is not about being the best person. It's about making everyone else better so that you grow as a team. Your team will appreciate the fact that you may need some help, but also that you are trusting them, because every person wants to feel trusted in work. And for emotion management, and this is more for your leadership roles, it's a really good Steve Jobs quote. If you want to make everyone happy, don't be a leader, just sell ice cream. Leadership is not for everyone. So if you're really happy in your role at work, I know sometimes people always strive for the role above, but think about it. Is it really the right role for you? And if it is, if it isn't, don't feel pressured into going for something you don't want to do, because it is an emotional roller coaster when you're in charge of a team. You're not always invited to everything. Things aren't always perfect for whoever's in charge, but do have a think about that before you go rushing off for a promotion that maybe won't make you happy. And in relationship building in the workplace, do appreciate people's skills and their knowledge when they're doing a different job to you. You often find that people separate themselves from clinical and non-clinical. Both areas of work are just as important to keep the practices running. So do make sure you appreciate the skills and the knowledge of the rest of your team. Make time to actively listen to each other. And you can have a relationship with other team members without being their best friend. Remember to give positive feedback. And really, as a lead, if you're in a leadership position, share that feedback right across the team. It's a feel-good moment when you see that somebody in the team has had a nice comment made about them. If you're unsure what you're doing in your job, ask for advice and ask for help. And do always remember a bit of basic conversation, particularly again in those leadership roles. Don't be barking at your team to do things. Remember to say hello or how are you? And do remember that strong people break too. They do it in silence, so sometimes. So it's not always the person that's shouting the loudest. Everybody sometimes feels a bit unresilient and needs that little bit of extra help. Going to make this time now for your comfort break. Going to take a 15-minute comfort break. And after the break, we'll talk about violent patients, where to get help, what to do in an emergency. But we're going to start off with a Wheel of Work quiz. Your manager should have got a copy of this quiz, and it's one page that will really need printing off. So perhaps in this short comfort break, you can get some copies of that printed. You'll still need that pen because we're going to work through the exercise together. It's really a piece of work that tells you what bits that you need to improve on within your work, and to make sure that you're working on those pieces for improving those different things that will make you feel better. It's all about you. So we'll take that comfort break now. Any managers, please pop me onto pause. That's great. And I'll see you in 15 minutes. Hello. I'm hoping that means you've had your 15-minute comfort break and you are feeling a bit more relaxed. Maybe you've got a nice hot drink, not too much caffeine though. And we're ready to move forward with part 2 of this training session. So part 2 is going to start by doing a second quiz. You remember we started part 1 with our resilience quiz, and we're going to go back to that when we've made some changes in our life and redo it to see if we are now more resilient. Well, the wheel of work will help you decide how to work through different areas of what you're doing at work and what areas you may need to make changes. So we're going to consider each category in turn. We're going to decide how much satisfaction you have within those areas of your life at work. 0 is no satisfaction, up to 10 of maximum satisfaction. And there's 8 different categories, and you are going to answer about each of those 8 categories. So if you're very satisfied with something, you might score that as a 9 or a 10. If you're not very satisfied, that could be a 0, 1 or 2. When we've done all of our 8 different categories, and we're going to work through them together, you're going to draw a line between all the dots that you've made until that joins up together to make a wheel. So we're going to start here with earnings and financial reward. And we're going to think very sensibly when we look at this. We work for the NHS. Nobody here is Elon Musk. Nobody here is going to earn £1 million by being a healthcare assistant or working on reception. But think about your earnings and against the job you do. Are you paid fairly? Are you in an agenda for change practice, for instance? Or are you scrabbling every time to get any kind of pay rise? And mark yourself somewhere between 0, which is the little point right in the middle, all the way up to 10 on how you feel you're paid for the job that you actually do. Then we'll move down to the next section, purpose and passion. Do you feel passionate about your role? Are you excited by what you're doing? Mark yourself somewhere between 0 up to 10 on how passionate you feel and how much purpose you have on the role that you do. Then we'll come down to the next one, which is work-life balance. Again, mark yourself between 0 and 10. Now, this is quite a difficult one because obviously sometimes people's home situations can't change. Your work-life balance may not feel as easy as it could do if you have young children at home or caring responsibilities. And these are things where even if you mark yourself low, you can see that changes will happen going forward. But also think about those of you that take your work home with you because you can never quite get it done. Are you reading emails at 10 o'clock at night? Is your work creeping into your home life all the time? So mark yourself for work-life balance. Then we'll move down to working relationship with our peers. So that's our team. How do we feel about how we work with all of our team? They don't have to be your best friends, but is it a happy place to work or not? Mark yourself somewhere there. And then our working relationship with our boss. Now your boss is up to you who you think of your boss in this situation. If you're in reception, for instance, it might be a reception manager. If you're a nurse, it could be your nurse manager. It could be overall your practice manager, or you might be thinking it's your partners. You can have more than one answer here if you have different working relationships with different people. If you get on particularly well, say, with your reception manager, but not so well with your practice manager, you can mark different numbers, as long as you know who you're marking. Then we move on to time management. Where do you see yourself as far as the amount of work you have and how much of that you're getting through? Are you managing your time correctly to be able to get through that work? Then we move on to professional development. How do we feel we sit with our professional development? Do you desperately want to train and change jobs? And is something holding you back? Perhaps you've asked in your appraisal and you've been told no, or perhaps you've been told yes, absolutely. Let's get you onto a course. Let's get you trained up. So mark yourself off there. But that's how you feel about your professional development as well. Doesn't mean you have to do that training. For me, to give you an example, I don't want to do any big courses anymore. Just doing a few small courses when it suits me means that I can mark myself down as a 10 for that because I'm doing exactly what I want to do. But if I did want to do a big degree course, for instance, and I wasn't able to, then I would need to mark myself lower. So it's not how much training you're doing or how much you're developing, it's how much you want to develop and are you able to do that? And your final question is your work content and process. The work you do, how do you feel about that? Is that something you're enjoying? Is it something you want to do or not? So give yourself a mark there. And when we've done all those marks, we take our pen and we draw up a circle around each of the numbers that we've got. And is it a circle? How is our wheel looking? Is it fairly even? Or have you got lots of bits that perhaps make it a jaggedy wheel? The bits with your lowest marks are the ones that we're going to really think about. So ask yourself the following questions. Are you happy with the overall balance of that wheel? What areas of the wheel do you want to change? What ones are marked low and you feel you'd like them to get higher? What might stop you from shifting the balance of that wheel? Can you make changes where you are in your current role, or would you maybe need to change roles? And if you would need to change roles, is that going to be possible? Have you even discussed it with your manager? Is there a chance that you could change and work onwards and upwards if that's what you want to do? Then make yourself a plan for action. Think about the main differences between where you are currently and where you'd like to be. Those are going to be the most important areas for you to focus on. But try to be really specific about what would be different. And do think about the negatives as well as the positives. Maybe if you're thinking you would like more money, think about the responsibility that goes with that, or maybe the extra hours of work you have to do. And is that what you really want? For each category you'd want to change, explore how you may achieve these things. Could you achieve them in your current role? Would you have to change roles? Then write down the 3 things you would like to either start doing or stop doing or do more of that would positively affect that part of your life. When you've got all your actions down, decide which 2 or 3 would make the biggest difference to your situation. And then really importantly, share this exercise with someone who you value and trust, who would gain support for your development, but would be honest with you. That's not always your husband or wife or a significant other, because sometimes they may tell you what you want to hear. Probably best with a trusted colleague at work that will tell you, yes, you're very capable of doing that, or maybe you're aiming too high. Always important to get a really realistic view. And then when we're ready to, we start to set our goals. And we do that by using the GROW model. Your goal is what is it that you really want? And then we think about the reality. That's the R in GROW. What is the current situation? And then the O, options. What could you do? The W, what will you do? Will you actually do this? And then recycle to achieve your goal. So you need to write these things down And there are some templates that are going to come out with this session that can show you how to work through your goals and to improve them. So you start by doing that wheel of work. You find out what areas you need to make your goals on, and then we get specific on what those goals are. So, for instance, your goal might be that you want to do a specific training course. If the reality of the current situation is you've already asked about that course and been told no, or I haven't actually asked, maybe I could bring that to my appraisal, or just go to my manager and suggest it. But do some work, have a look at the courses that are available, look at the costings, think about what you could put forward to maybe assist or help with that. Have you got the time to do these things? Look at those as your options. And then think, will you actually do that? Do you want to do that and make that change? Another way to think about our goals is thinking about our desire, our belief, and our ability, because all of these three things have to be in place to make sure that we can actually do the goals that we're setting ourselves. You look at this tiny area here, that's where our desire, our belief, and our ability all link together. And that's where things need to sit in for our goals to work. So I'm going to give you a little example here. Let's talk about me. And let's say perhaps my desire is to be an astronaut. It isn't, but we'll use that as an example. So perhaps I really want to be an astronaut. That would be the whole of this green area. I've got that desire, that want, and that urge to do that. But do I have the belief as well? That will take it down into this smaller area because I must have the desire and the belief. Well, I personally believe I can do anything. That's just been my character. That glass definitely half full rather than half empty. So yes, I believe I can be an astronaut. So I have the desire to do it, and I really believe I can do it. So therefore, I'm nearly there. But then we have to look at ability. So let's think about this realistically. I'm in my late 50s. I'm probably too old. I'm quite clever, but not very good at science. And you really have to get good marks in science to be an astronaut. I walk a lot, but I'm not really fit enough to do the fitness trials I need to do. I don't have the ability to be an astronaut. I definitely have the desire. I really believe in myself, but deep down, I don't have the ability. So I need to change my goal for something more realistic. I wonder how that would be if I thought about being a practice manager. I think I could hit that goal, and I have done. So we need to make our goals realistic. So we need to work through them and make them realistic to make sure that we are getting the best out of ourselves, because that will make you feel more resilient and happier. But do really think that sometimes it actually isn't you when you're feeling not great and not resilient. There's that old phrase that we're all in the same boat, but we're not. We're actually not in the same boat at all. We are in the same storm, the storm of the NHS. Some of you will be in a yacht. What does that mean? Well, perhaps that means you're in an agenda for change practice, you have good sick pay, you have a nice building, you have, on the whole, pleasant patients, you hit most of your targets because it's quite easy to, because your patients turn up. That's a yacht. Some of you might be in a canoe. You're in an average patient, an average practice. Some of the patients are nice, some not so nice. You're not paid at the top rate, but you're not right there at the bottom either. You do get your rise every year. You get some sick pay. It's not perfect, but it's not too bad. You're one of those who are in a canoe. But there will be some of you who are just drowning. those who are sat on minimum wage. Maybe those of you who are sat in a very violent practice, lots of violent patients. It can be really hard then. So we've got to find different ways to work through that same storm that we're all in. So be kind, help whoever you can, and work together, because we need to think about things as a team. Sometimes there's a big divide in a practice on how we're treated within our practice. So we need to make sure that we look after each other and appreciate our team, whatever their job role is. If you're dealing with lots of violent or rude patients, it can be really upsetting. So learn to support each other. But do remember to tell your managers if something goes wrong and a warning letter needs to go out. It's no good things going wrong and saying to someone, it's happened 20 times and nothing's been done. If you haven't told someone, that letter can't go out. A couple of warning letters go out, you can start to feel that someone can be removed from the practice if they need to be. Have a really good system in place, and this is for your managers to put in place, but for you to work with them and ensure that you play your part, such as a good lockdown system. If you feel safe in your place of work, if you feel that you can be safe at all times, you will feel more resilient to go through your daily work, because it can be really hard if you are in a situation and there has been attacks outside. We know these things have happened. We know there's been confrontation, there's been terrorist attacks. If your system is good, where you can lock down, and we can talk through that in the next couple of slides on how we can do our bit to support our managers when they are having to lock down a practice. That's really important to help you to feel safe at work. And if you feel safe, you will feel more resilient. When you're dealing with violent or rude patients, try not to get too confrontational. Really avoid those situations if you can, and try and keep calm. Don't shout back. If you're calm, it tends to calm them down. Watch out for your colleagues. If tempers are being raised, step in, get help. Don't leave them alone to fight something. And if you have had a really stressful situation, do take 5 minutes after that to calm down. That's talking about a stressful situation with somebody raising their voice or shouting at work. But then we need to think about things as they get harder within life in general, on how to keep ourselves really, really safe. And how we're going to do that for a proper emergency situation is really to try and understand what happens when things go wrong. All practices will have a business continuity plan that will help your practice prepare for when things happen. Your practice manager should be working on that plan, or your leadership team. But your bit, whatever your role is to help them and to work with them to ensure that they also can manage to understand that you're behind them when things go wrong. And you need to understand your role in an emergency, because that will make you feel more resilient as you work through that emergency to keep going and to keep feeling safe. And what if the unthinkable does happen? We really need to start thinking about having some drills. And there is a separate video for your managers to help teach them how to make a lockdown drill. So with a lockdown drill, this is a little bit like in the USA, where children have school shooting drills. The awful thing that young children have to plan in case somebody comes in and starts shooting in a school. Well, some like that, we can plan an emergency lockdown drill. What if the unthinkable is happening out on the street? The best thing that can happen is that you get your team, or the whole team, gets safe. And to do that safety drill, you need to practice. If you don't practice, you're not going to feel that things are going to work out for you straight away. So what we need to do is plan plan those drills, which your managers will do. But the discussion with your managers is that you should all be involved in the planning, looking around the building, seeing what things are perhaps not easy to lock down, what things you may not feel so safe with, and to have those discussions. You'll feel more resilient if you feel safe at work. So please take part in those drills. No eye rolls thinking, oh, we don't want to do this, it's boring or it's not great. Actually, it's there to keep you really, really safe. And it's really important that you all get involved, because if you can get involved in keeping yourself safe in that workplace, you are going to feel a lot better and all of the time there. Because if the unthinkable does happen and something goes horribly wrong, you'll be really grateful if you pre-plan for it. So before we go on to our last slides, we're going to have a little bit of a recap. What do we need to do? So we need to do that initial quiz to see how we're feeling. We did it at the beginning, but when we make some changes, we need to repeat it. There are some templates that will come out with the quiz on, so you don't always have to go back to the PowerPoint. Then when we've done that, what changes are we going to make? We're going to try and sleep better, maybe get some of that lavender spray. Going to try to drink a little less caffeine, maybe a bit more water or decaffeinated drinks to help us feel a little bit better when we're in that workplace. A little bit less electronics in our breaks, and try and get that bit of fresh air during our breaks to try and make us feel better. Start planning our workload so that our work is not overwhelming us, so we're not feeling burnt out. And if you are starting to feel burnt out, talk to people at work. If you're in a leadership role, we're going to think about delegation. We're going to think about working with our team. Whatever role you're in, we're going to do that, look at that wheel of work exercise and think what things got pointed out to us that we need to work on. What areas of our job are not perfect and we can maybe do something about them. Or our home life, it can easily work with your home life too. If you want to make changes, think about popping those into your appraisal or having a discussion with your team leader about maybe some courses that you might want to do, things that you might want to change about your work to see if that can work for you and to work for the practice as well. Going to start thinking about the violence in the workplace or unhappy patients and how we can work together as a team to make sure that we feel a little bit happier and healthier at work within those patients and how to handle that. And there are some extra training sessions on dealing with conflict that can make you feel a little bit better if you take part in those sessions. So do speak to your managers about that, and maybe they can help you work through some things. All of these things have also been recorded, so if it is something that is interesting to you, then perhaps you can also gain some of the recordings and watch those, which might help you as well. And finally, if to take part in any drills that are planned for you to keep you healthy and safer in the workplace, make sure that you work with your managers on those drills, because it's really important as well to take part in them, to take part in the discussion afterwards, and to note if things don't go so well, to make sure that you know it hasn't gone as well. You point out to your managers things that could improve things, and then you can all work together for an improvement plan to make sure that everything is really making you feel safe in the workplace. We have significant event reporting in every surgery if things do actually go wrong, that we can make a report and then make some actions to make them better. But if we're all buying into that and we all work together on it, things will definitely start to improve. And if you have had the unthinkable, you do feel terribly stressed afterwards, there is help out there. This may not be something that you need to lock down and practice over. This could be something that's happening in your own personal life or within your work life. So the help that's out there, and I have provided a big template with all of these details on it that hopefully at the end of when you've been through your training, your managers will take that template and either email it around to you, or pop it onto a health and wellbeing board. But for the meantime, we're going to go through it today. So the help that's currently out there, obviously, if you're watching this after 2025-26, some of these things may have changed because a lot of it's on the NHS England website, and we know that those details are changing and becoming part of the health and social care. But at the moment, it's still the NHS England website, but you will need to check if you're past 2025-26 and things have changed. So at the moment, there is a confidential 24/7 tech support service, and that can be accessed by texting the word shout to 85258. That's available to any NHS staff who may have had a tough day, feeling worried or overwhelmed, or have a lot on their mind and need to just talk it through. There are also further mental health resources and wellbeing apps that are currently on the NHS England website. There is financial wellbeing support. The rising cost of living is an added worry for many of our teams this winter, so there is a money helper service with free and impartial advice over either the telephone, over WhatsApp or text. That can be for help with budgeting, managing debt, or gaining clarity on your financial options. And this service can provide the guidance you need to navigate in those uncertain times. There's more NHS financial wellbeing support by telephone, the phoning 0800 448 0826. This is a support line for NHS staff to do with the money helper service that we just discussed, or the WhatsApp number is +44 7701 342 744. Pop that in your WhatsApp and send the Money Helper Service National Support Team a message to help with sorting out any debts, credit questions, and pension guidance. There is Bright Sky. That's free to download. That's a confidential mobile app providing support and information for anyone who's in an abusive relationship, or if you're concerned about someone that might be in one. And then there's Work Life Central, a programme that consists of curated collection of expertise, information and inspiration available through video, live events and written formats, covering 5 principal topic areas such as careers, families, inclusion, wellbeing and the workplace. And if you really are feeling at rock bottom, there's the #StayAlive app, a suicide prevention resource for the UK, packed full of useful information and tools to make you stay safe in a crisis. There's also Unmind, a mental health platform to empower your team to proactively improve their mental health and wellbeing. And finally, there's Headspace. This is a science-based app in mindfulness and meditation. So back to those things that we talked about for improving your mind and being calm and getting into that right place. That provides unique tools and resources to help reduce stress, build your resilience, and aid better sleep, along with that lavender pillow spray that we talked about. I'm hoping today's been useful for you and that you've taken things on board. I'd like to say thank you for watching today. Do make sure you get hold of all of the resources that come with this, and thank you so much. Take care and goodbye.